do a little bit of chit chat for another 1 minute till the teachers join, around 50 already there. So good afternoon, everyone. Give me another 30 seconds to start. So till then, we'll ask Naren how it is in the US. How's the weather there? Which is the question I always ask.
Yeah, the weather actually is getting warmer now, so it is interesting. Not till very long ago, till just a month ago, it was still quite cold in the Northeast with late spring, but now it's warm and now we are sweating and you can see the fan is on.
Oh, is it? Okay. So my fans are off, just to get every one of you jealous. My fans are off, and it's a beautiful 21 degrees. It rained yesterday in the rain, so we are actually very excited. So it's 4:30, and it's time to start. So if Philip sir allows us, we're going to start. Philip sir, could we also have you just give a 1-minute introduction to Naren, and I'll then start. So Naren, should we start?
Please.
I think, hello, we should wait for another minute. Teachers have not joined.
Okay, so we'll wait for your cue, Philip sir. Whenever you say, we will start. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's I think it's the weather's been, despite all the corona, I think the weather's been the positive side of it, at least in India. So even in Chandigarh and Rajpura, where everyone else is, the weather's not really been as bad as it normally is, Naren. So we're a little lucky.
Maybe while we're waiting, is there any significance of the photograph behind you?
Oh, it is. These are actually, that's a photograph of the partition of India. So the two of them. So these are original photographs from the Express archives.
Oh,
and
nice.
they remind me of how bad human beings can be to each other. So we just need to be nice to each other.
Yeah.
So these are original pictures. So we actually have a gallery at Shoolini which talks about the history of India in pictures, starting from Gandhi getting into India, from that time till the last Pokhran nuclear explosion that have. So we have the whole thing in pictures. So it's quite beautiful, this particular gallery.
Very nice. No, I mean, whenever I've come to Shoolini, first of all, there's something new every time. The last time I came, you had all your Nobel Prize sections, and it was very, very well documented. I mean, it's just a highly academic place. I love it.
Absolutely. Try to do that. So, Philip sir, should we start? Do we have your green signal? We are now a minute into the program. If you allow me, should we start?
Just 1 more minute. I think
okay.
There is some confusion is there.
Okay.
I'll just tell you. I'll give you green signal.
No, okay, lovely. So till then, Naren and I will continue chatting. So Naren, that's one of the things that we also believe at Shoolini is we need to bring in inspiration to our students. Of course, you'll speak about self-awareness. So inspiration, we think, is very important, and inspiration comes from role models. Inspiration comes from architecture. Inspiration comes from gardens, and inspiration comes from inspirational stories. So when we have inspirational stories of Nobel Prize winners, students, we hope hopefully one day win a Nobel Prize. Who knows? It's at least that's the attempt we have.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, 85.
So, Kamal, could you mute Philip sir?
Okay, then. Fine. Hello.
Kamal, could you please mute, or Shikha, could you please mute?
Sir, he's speaking something. So, Mr. Philip, would you like?
Yeah. No, he's on the phone. He's on the phone with.
Fine. I'm coming.
Okay.
So, as a leading biotechnologist, Naren, when are we getting the vaccine?
Oh, I think it's very exciting times. The vaccine, a lot of people are working on the vaccine, and there are a few papers that have been published recently suggests that the first clinical trials of the vaccines have just started, and we will be getting data by the end of this year on the efficacy of the vaccine. It looks like the vaccine is inducing a good protective immune response in the lower lung, but in the upper respiratory tract, the virus, the immune response is not that robust yet with the vaccines that are out there. So we'll wait and see. Any vaccine, whether it prevents completely or even if it prevents partially, is going to be tremendously beneficial for maintaining for controlling the epidemic.
So another 6 months, another 3 months. What's your guesstimate?
6 months is more likely. Maybe a little bit longer for the wider group of people. Yeah, please.
Yeah, Mr. Khosla, I think we can start now.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Philip, sir.
So thank you.
Welcome back. So good afternoon, teachers. Good afternoon, Philip, sir. Good afternoon, Naren. Many of you have been with us before. So once again, welcome to Ideas That Matter. Since we spoke to you last time, from Ideas That Matter, we've now hit more than, I think, 90 schools and institutions as we speak. We have touched around 100,000 teachers, and we've enhanced the topics, and we're delighted to have Narendra Chirmule with us today. A quick introduction to Narendra. He is a very dear friend, of course, and a distinguished professor at Shoolini, but his laurels don't come from here. His accomplishments come from his education. So he studied at UPenn, which is one of the leading universities of the world. He actually studied at University of Mumbai also, as I understand. Of course, Narendra, you'll tell more about yourself. He's worked in the US, decided to pursue a corporate career in research. He used to be with Amgen, which is one of the world's leading biotechnology companies, driving a new drug discovery over there. And then the Swades bug hit him, and he decided to come back to India with Biocon, where he was head of research for a few years. He claims he's retired, which I don't believe, because he works harder and he gets up at 4 in the morning to finish his work. But we're so delighted that you're with us today, Narendra. He, of course, is an expert in pharma, biology, and biotechnology, but Narendra is also an artist, not just at heart like me, but he actually paints and sings, and we're going to have Narendra sing or play the flute for us today. And he loves art, and he tries to inspire students, motivate them, and he tries to bring in the convergence of awareness through art, through public speaking, and through other softer skills, as we call it. So once again, my name is Atul Khosla. I'm the founder and pro-vice chancellor of Shoolini University, Khosla Hills, and I'm delighted to be the host for you today. We have Philip sir with us. Before we start, I'll request Philip sir to speak for 30 seconds to 45 seconds, introduce the school to Narendra, and we can then get into a very charismatic and inspiring talk by Dr. Narendra Chirmule.
Thank you, Mr. Khosla. Today, the Holy Angel School, the staff and children are there. And thank you. First, let me thank you for inviting us to this wonderful session by Dr. Narendra. As you said, though he is retired, he works very hard. And you can expect such a lot of things from such people. I like them. So, and today's topic, and it's very important one in today's time. Hardly anyone look at this matter. Some people have their own self-image and they're satisfied with it and go ahead. And self-awareness, if you don't have a self-awareness, the personality problems that we have, we are not aware of it. And others may not tell us also. So this, for the teachers and for me and for the students during this COVID lockdown time, it's a very wonderful time to go into us and have an introspection of how we feel, how we think, what is my opinion about myself, what's my opinion about others. That's very good. So I was waiting for such an opportunity now. A lot of problems
I think we lost Philip, sir. So I think he'll come back, but I think he's back. Philip, sir, are you there? Okay. Once again, teachers, welcome to Ideas That Matter. So the topic today is self-awareness, and we'll try to converge the thought of self-awareness with art. Many times we talk about science, or we talk about science most of the times, but softer subjects like music and art are so important for us to be self-aware. So Naren, over to you for this absolutely inspiring talk.
Thank you. Thank you
do
very
get me in at the right time. Thank you.
Absolutely, and I am sharing my slide now. So, and I just want to make sure that I'm heard, because I could not hear, and I'm assuming you're all hearing properly.
So we can hear you loud and clear, Naren. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm sure you'll wave out to me like you always do.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Philip, please.
Something went wrong here this side, I think.
I think you dropped off. We are just about to start. Would you like to close the introduction, Philip, sir,
okay,
and we
fine.
can start?
So,
yeah. Maybe we can get him back
so
when
we can. So we can get you back, Philip, a little later. Why don't you start, Naren?
Okay, great. So first of all, thank you very much, Atul, Shikha, Kamal, Mr. Philip, all of you who have made this happen. I'm going to speak a little bit about what I call for myself experiments with self-awareness. And obviously, this is not my own title. It comes from Gandhiji's book, Experiments with Truth. And so this is my own attempt at trying to understand myself. So who am I? And that's a very philosophical statement, but I'll do the mortal presentation, which is I have recently founded a biotech company with my friend from 45 years, Ravi Khare, and his friend, Atul Khandekar, and we evaluate the space between engineering and biology, and that's what we do. I did my high school in Kendriya Vidyalaya in Lucknow, इसलिए मैं हिंदी बहुत अच्छी तरह से बोल लेता हूँ इतने सालों के बाद भी बाहर रहने से. I did my PhD in Bombay University, and then after that I went to the US and did my postdoctoral fellowship in Cornell, and I taught at UPenn. Then I was at companies like Merck, Amgen, which Atul had mentioned, and I had a lot of experience in developing biologics and vaccines over the years. My personal professional interests are the ability to speak clearly, and I always try to improve my public speaking, and I'm trying to be aware and conscious of what I'm saying when I'm saying things. So I have explored this possibility of being aware as a transforming process for myself, and I only started this process maybe 5-6 years ago. And the reason I speak about it, because I think it's a great opportunity for students to start thinking about themselves and awareness right from high school days. So I'll show you a few processes of how to systematically start becoming aware of yourself. And there are a few methodologies that I use for myself, which I'm going to explain. And today I will talk about two things: circle of life and how to appreciate art. And so here is the Wikipedia definition of awareness. It's a state of being conscious about something. How does one become aware? By being very observant of your surroundings and senses, doing things mindfully, pausing between activities, and then listening a lot. When you do all of these things, you become highly aware of what is happening around you. There are many ways to become aware. This is one methodology that I like to use. Every week, every month, every so often, I will draw these concentric circles in my notebook. The center circle is about me, which I've called you. And what I like to do personally this week or this month, I like to paint. So these days I'm making a lot of paintings about COVID, the virus itself and how it enters the cell. And I use art to express or understand how COVID is causing pathology. I like to take long walks. It's beautiful outside, listening to music. And then I'm Zooming, meaning I'm on these Zoom calls all the time. That's sort of my 3 top things in the last couple of days or weeks. In the city I live in, I used to love going to our concerts outside, but all these concerts now are online. The environment is just beautiful. The trees, I mean, there's so less pollution, and the environment has just really taken off. And I think the city is looking really beautiful. That's my circle around me. In the country, obviously there's a lockdown, the economy is affected, and there are a lot of things that are happening in the country. But I'm aware, I should be aware of what is happening. And in the world, from my perspective, there are 25,000 articles published on COVID in the last 3 months. It's just phenomenal. And all these articles are free available without any payment. That's a remarkable thing. Manned space flights have been initiated, and a lot of movement on Black Lives Matter and social importance of all of equality. So when I look at all of these things that are happening around me, if I don't segregate them in a systematic manner, like I've shown you here, all of these things are twirling in my head and constantly impacting and interfering with each other. When I write them down like this, it becomes much clearer for me to address any of the issues, right? So this is one methodology of becoming aware of everything that's in your mind. I'll show you another methodology of how to become aware by looking at art. Okay, I'll tell you a little story. I had gone to a friend's house, and their daughter, who's in 10th grade, Janvi, I was talking to her at the dining table, and she said, I asked her, so Janvi, tumko kaun se subject achhe lagte hain? What subjects do you like, or what subjects do you not like? She said, Uncle, I like biology, but I really don't like this physics and chemistry. Bore hota usme. They're not interesting subjects. So I said, okay, I don't know, to each their own. Let's explore what you just said. So I asked you to bring a piece of paper, and then we drew a line in the middle of the paper, and that's the middle of the line. We drew a paper, and then we drew something on the top of the line. Okay, we'll draw mountains, we'll draw trees, we'll draw birds, and all of that, right? And I said, okay, in school, this is biology, isn't it? She said, yeah. Okay, so this is biology. So on the top of the earth is biology. Then she said, wait, Uncle, there is also under the ocean also there is biology, because there are fish and there is whales, and right, not until you go to the deep ocean where it is dark, where there is maybe no life. There's life, biology occurring all of these places, right? I said, okay. Then what is biology made up of? What are these animals and plants made up of? She said DNA. And so we drew this DNA, this piece of DNA. And what is DNA? It's biochemistry. So what is DNA made up of? It's made up of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and it has got these, it looks like a chemical formula. So now that's chemistry. Okay, now what is carbon? What is carbon made up of? Carbon has a neutron, it has electron. Now that is physics. And while I didn't express this next topic to her, we all know that the next layer of physics is quantum physics, is how these electrons and protons and neutrons move relative to each other. So now you can see, you like biology, but all of these things that are there are related to biology. It's not like there's one physics over there and one chemistry over there and one biology over there. It's all connected. Yeah. Okay, now let's move above the surface of the earth. You all know in school, I'm sure you learn about what air is, what 70-80% nitrogen. It has oxygen, it has carbon, it has hydrogen, depending on the humidity. So that's your air, right? That is chemistry. Then you have all these layers of air above the earth. As you go up, oxygen and hydrogen content reduces. We know that, right? There's less oxygen and less hydrogen. And so there's troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere. And then you go to the moon, and then they go to Mars. You go to Mars. and then there's a news that comes in. Oh, this machine has found a drop of water on Mars, and most of us will say, "Usme kya badi baat hai? There are 100 gallons of water in the US, on the Earth. What's such a big deal about having water on Mars?" It's a big deal because for 10,000 miles from the Earth's surface to the thermosphere and beyond, where Mars exists, there is no hydrogen and oxygen, and yet there is water. So there must be something that is going on over there that makes water happen, which is not how water is made on Earth. So that's kind of the thought process that you become aware of when you look at a simple thing like this. And then, of course, all of this is also, after biology, there's biochemistry, there's chemistry, there's physics. This is the galaxy, the sun, the earth, the moon, the solar system. That's the word I was getting at. Now, the solar system looks like the neutron. It looks similar. And that's the black hole, by the way. And so all of these things are related. And when you see all of this come together, then your studying becomes all relative. And then after all of this is made, a piece of art has appeared, isn't it? This tree that you see that we've drawn, Janavi and I drew this, came with the concept that all of these things are interconnected to each other. And that's how this piece of art came. And so this is how our left and right brain work. And so we will talk much more about this, but let me go, before I go to my part of the story, let me pause here, because I know Atul has a lot to say about the left and right brain. So let me pause here and bring him in, because I just want to, we've talked so much about this, and I know he's passionate about this topic.
Thank you so much, Naren. How inspiring. I mean, how you connected science and art. I mean, I could never have done this. So amazing, so wonderful. What I'm going to talk about a little bit about is the power of the right side of the brain. So most of the time, as teachers, as parents, as students, we are geared towards actually using the left side of the brain. We are taught that if you can master the left side of the brain, which is remembering, which is processing data, which is using mathematics to solve problems, we will be successful, because we correlate success to getting into IIT or getting into a good medical school or whatever. And we end up trying to sort of master subjects using the left brain. And most of us start forgetting the power of the right side of the brain. Now, the interesting thing is that the right side of the brain is very intelligent, but very dormant. It doesn't talk to us that often. Or at least our parents and our teachers sometimes say, use the left brain, not the right brain. And the right brain on its own is sort of sloppy, sleepy. So when I went to IIT, I learned something amazing, Naren. The toppers were also great artists. The top of my batch, JE1, I mean, this guy is God at IIT. He could play the flute. He could play the piano. He could also run, and he could also solve the most complex mathematical and physics problems. And the mediocres like me were sort of the left brainy guys who were trying to solve problems using traditional mathematics and physics. I learned that the right brain is so important, and I wanted to talk about that. I'm so glad you're talking about it. And I want to ask a question to all of you in the audience, which I always do, and Naren knows this question. Can you remember a piece of music, a Hindi film song, which probably you used to sing as a child, and you haven't heard about it for a very, very long time? Give it a thought. And now let's think about it. I'm a bad singer, but I'll still attempt. KL Sehgal ka gana yaad aa gaya as I close my eyes, Naren. Jab dil hi toot gaya to ji ke kya karenge. I can't sing it, but I can remember the tune. And I remember it to the nanosecond. I remember it right up to the nanosecond. How? While I can't remember my numbers, I can't remember so many things. I can't remember my mathematics problems. How can I remember the tune? And that's the power of the right side of the brain. So if we can make a student learn through stories, through games, through gamification, as they call it nowadays, through videos, through movies, it'll be so much more fun. So I was in a webinar around 3 weeks back, Naren, and we said we have to do our exams very differently. Why don't we do our exams in the form of games? So we did a small experiment. We actually created a game. Now everything is online. So think about it. You got a multiple choice question which says, what is the right answer? And you've got a joystick, you've got the answers are coming down. And like the Star Trek, arcade, you can actually hit the right answer. And it's sort of a game that you can play. You can play snakes and ladders that we have now created at Shoolini. You can play Ludo, you can play football, and you can sort of get the interest of the student. So here, think about it. A student is now taking his final end semester exams in mathematics, final year, Masters of Mathematics, and he's not solving now the question paper. He's actually playing snakes and ladders. And it's fun, right? 3 hours of playing snakes and ladders. And then you also know the result, because you could either be so if you do a wrong answer, you fall down, the snake bites you. If you do a right answer, you go up. Oh, it's wow. So much fun. So point I wanted to make everyone is that the right brain is so critical. The brain is so intelligent. The right brain can actually be catalyzed, and the right brain gets catalyzed by inspiration, Narendra. The right brain loves beauty. The right brain loves love, romance, music, art, what you're talking about. So I'm going to sort of, at this point of time, I'm going to tease all of you, because I've got a small video of Shoolini, which I made some 3 days back. You've seen that, Narendra. And that's where I'm sitting right now. It's pictures I took. And I wanted to show how we are trying to bring in inspiration and, I would say, catalyzation of the right side of the brain. If you allow me.
Please.
Here it is.
Excellent.
So Naren, one just last thought over here, and that's for the teachers. Like I said, inspiration creates excitement, and inspiration that we as teachers can give to students, or students can imbibe them, leads to asking a very simple question, and that is, why? Our purpose. There's a research being done by Harvard, Naren, which talks about what makes people successful. And the answer is very interesting. If you're self-aware and you know your purpose. Why do I exist? Why should I become a doctor? Why should I become an engineer? The day we have that answer and we work towards that purpose, then suddenly we become 10 times more successful, because then it comes from the heart. I tell my students, Naren, there's a movie called Rockstar, उसमें एक dialogue है कि जिस दिन आग लग जाएगी, उस दिन magic हो जाएगा. And I think that's the objective that we have as teachers, to get that aag and the purpose into our students, the purpose of life, the self-awareness topic that you're talking about. Over to you.
So true. Thank you so much. And that was a fantastic video. Thank you for sharing that. So just continue. I have a few more slides, and then we'll open it for discussion. I'd love to hear from all of you. But let me tell you two more stories, a couple of more stories about art and how my experience in art has evolved. So this is one of the best paintings I love. Van Gogh is one of my favorite painters, and I've seen a lot of his original painting. This specific painting, which is called Starry Nights, is at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City, and I can stand in front of this and for hours, maybe mesmerized by this. But I started painting in 1998 when my daughter was young. And we bought some paints for her, and I started painting at the basement of our house, and we just one thing led to another, and there were some paints, and I just painted. This is my painting of 1998 of Starry Nights, and of course for years I just did not even see it because it looks terrible. If you look at it just by itself and you compare it with the original, it doesn't look anything like the original. I took a lot of pain to make the bottom part of the painting. I made this church and I tried to do as much as possible. But by the time it came to do the Starry Nights, I got bored. And then I just, threw paint and then made circles. That's it, right? Then I left it at that. And for many years, I didn't even look at this painting and it used to be one of my terrible paintings at the back of the room. Then several years later, 20 years later to be precise, I started learning painting, and then I started painting more. And in 2018, I attempted again the Starry Nights after a teacher had taught me. And then I did a reasonably good job of trying to make the same painting again. And now, although not perfect, but I'm quite happy with this painting. But in fact, if you ask me today, I actually like the 1998 painting far more than the 2018 painting, because it is my expression of the painting. This is just copying. So that is so beautiful. And when I actually painted it, I was totally unaware of how to paint. So this is sort of my story of painting, and I'll tell you a few other stories. I was working in Amgen, and I was in charge of a program over there where we had to make protein crystals of a product that we were making. And the way you look at structure of proteins is by first crystallizing them. And then you pass X-ray through these crystals, and these X-rays are then put onto film, and then you can get structures of protein which looks like this. This, by the way, is the structure of the COVID spike protein. But this is an example of how protein crystallization was used. So I was going to work, and we were always talking about crystallization. But when I came home, this is what I did. I used to paint crystals. So you can see the different kinds of, I made about 20 different crystal paintings because crystals was in my mind. And so I always used to come home and paint. I'll give you an example of what, and I would try different things. I would try different things of how to paint. I'll tell you an example of what this painting is on the left, right? So what I did is I threw a bunch of thick pink paint onto a small canvas. And then on the top of that canvas, I threw a lot of black paint on that canvas. I didn't know what I actually was doing. But then I took a piece of newspaper and then sort of dabbed the whole thing at the back. And then I decided, okay, I'll scratch out the crystal out of the painting. I'll scratch out the paint. And this is the painting of a crystal from that. It's just experiment. And it looks beautiful. It's probably one of the better ones of all the other ones that I've done, at least from my perspective. So I'm at work, I'm working on crystals, I come home and I paint, my inspiration continues. Another experiment. I was trying watercolors this time. And watercolors, if some of you have tried, it's extremely difficult. The water flows and has a mind of its own. If you try to control where the water goes, you mess up. You let it flow, beauty evolves. because water naturally flows in a particular way. So the way this painting was done, literally, I took a piece of paper like that, threw some watercolors on it, and then literally moved the paper up and down. That's it. That's all I did. I didn't even use paint brushes. I just moved the paper like that, and this painting appeared, right? And it looks so nice, right? Then one thing I said, okay, horizon, all my teachers over the years have told me you have to pay attention to horizon. Horizon must be straight, otherwise it doesn't look good. This horizon not straight, but it looks reasonably okay, right? I said, okay, let me see. The horizon is in the middle. What will happen if I make the horizon on top? Will the emotion, will something change? And yeah, I made one other painting with the horizon on top. Then I got so obsessed that I made a lot of paintings with horizon on top, even further up. So I made horizon, all these paintings with the horizon at the 90th percentile, all these horizons. Okay, if that's what the top looks like, what should the bottom look like? If the horizon is at the bottom, what would the painting look like? This is what it would look like. And I tried all of this. I was also doing pointillism at that time. And so you can see all these paintings that I made. So by being curious, by trying to evaluate what the world looks like and try to put it on canvas, I did many other things. Like, for example, this is a painting where I was exploring chalk crayons. And this is a painting of a beach, which, you have yellow sand, blue water, brown mountains, and red sun, right? Kisne bola ye color honi chahiye? I made red sea, black sand, green stone, blue rock, black sun, and green sky. Nobody has told me that this is the rule. I made something else. I've made 10 paintings like that, like this, with different colors. These are just experiments. And these, the ones that are non-natural, actually evoke more emotion than the natural one. This is all these experiments with awareness. Like this, I've done more than 450 paintings, trying to explore all kinds of things. They're all different sizes. And I put them all in my garage, because there's no place in the house to put 450 paintings. So I just stack them up in the garage. I like to put them up so that you see them once in a while, right? So a lot of my friends used to come to my house and they used to see these paintings. They said, "Kya yaar, fantastic, wo kya badhiya hobby hai. Tum itna kaise karte ho yaar? You work so much and you do this and that and all, and you make all these paintings." And of course, my ego is inflated. But then one day, one friend of mine comes in. His name is Ravi Hingwarani, and he's a painter. And he comes and he says, yaar, tu painting to bahut kar raha hai, lekin when you were making this painting on the left, you seem like you were very sad. When you made this painting, which is bright colors, you're probably very happy. When this dance painting that you made, you probably you were frolicky, you're feeling very frolicky. And while it wasn't absolutely true, it was very close to the truth. In fact, the subject, the colors that I choose, everything that I do on a painting depends on the state of my mind. And if a painting comes out well, it is not because my artistic talent is better that day. It is because my mind is better that day. And that's what I realized. And on that day, I realized one very important thing of my paintings, that when is a painting finished? I can continue to paint a painting forever, right? And constantly improve it. But that day I got the idea that a painting is finished when your thought of that particular painting is finished. And you move on to the next thought, that painting is finished. Even if the actual physical painting is unfinished, the painting is finished because your thought has changed. A huge realization for me. So then on this day, I actually realized that there is emotion in art. And that there is art and emotion relationships. And over the centuries, people have been expressing emotion in art in many different ways. For example, all of you must know this or may have seen this, Edvard Munch's very, very famous painting from 1893 called The Scream. I don't have to give the title over here. If I just show you this painting, you will realize that this man is screaming, and then the world is changing around him. Similarly, Roy Lichtenstein's Frightened Girl, I don't need to put this title. If I just put the picture, you would tell me that this girl is either crying, sad, or frightened, or that emotion is already there in the painting, right?
what would you say is this the emotion of this painting? It's very hard to, a lot of people will say, "Arey, abstract mein kya dekhna hai yaar? Mere ko samajh nahi aata mere ko." But if this painting is in a museum, it evokes an incredible emotion in you. It is not the painting that is evoking emotion, it is your brain that is evoking emotion. You see patterns in the painting that will activate your neurons. That's what abstract painting does to you. This is Jackson Pollock, very, very famous painter. He painted what is called abstract expressionism, and this is how he used to paint in a small hut in upstate New York. So I'm going to end by just summarizing what I just spoke about. And the things that I do for art are many, many things. I make a visual journal. The 400 paintings that I made are not paintings, they're actually my visual journal. It is a form of my expression. By painting 400 paintings in different media, I have obviously improved my skill to draw, paint, sketch, doodle. I can make these very easily because it's not, my hands are very exercised. I learn how to appreciate art in museums. I learn about artists and their personal lives. I do a lot of research on what these painters are. You learn the historical concepts of art. And finally, it's for fun. You have so much fun doing that. And that's what Atul and I have been talking about in the last couple of months now, that it is the importance of this culture, the left brain, right brain that Atul mentioned, that is so important in the education process, that really brings out the whole education system together. So I'll stop here and thank you for the opportunity to present this, Atul, and I'll send it back to you for a discussion.
Let me. Thank you, Naren. You amaze me always. I don't know what are things you don't do very well. I think you do everything very well. We now know you also paint, but you also play the flute very well. So I think before we get into the Q&A, do you have a flute anywhere nearby? Can we request you to play it for us?
Oh, thank you so much. I just do it because you asked, but there's a backstory behind this song, but I'll tell you the story later on if the time comes. Okay.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. As you were talking, and there's some questions over here. So teachers, please put in your questions over here. We'd love to answer them. And Naren, of course, is itching to answer all your questions. So don't hesitate to ask any questions. But I have a couple before we get into it. You spoke about self-awareness, getting to know ourselves, getting to know our people around us. What is the role of love or passion in all of this? I'm not talking about romantic love over here between men and women. I'm talking about a love for a particular thing. Does love play a role in self-discovery?
Self-love, so to speak, is something that you must learn, right? I mean, I think if you don't love yourself, you can't expect other people.
Naren, you might want to, your voice is not coming very clear. So if you don't mind.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you better now.
I think it's a very insightful question. I think the short answer is, you have to learn to love yourself. You have to do things that you like. And, there are a lot of ways. We're always, flogging ourselves. Ye acha nahi kiya, wo acha nahi kiya. We're always kind of bashing ourselves. Look at the things that you've done. Normally, when there's so many things that we all have accomplished over time, we don't consider our accomplishments as significant because we always compare ourselves to, I made one painting. Oh, he has made 5 paintings, so he must be better than me. So we always are on this comparison strength. My suggestion, my own experience is that forget about comparing everything. Just compare to your previous self. That's it, and that sort of helps a lot.
So how do we figure out what we love? That's a question that I've been asking myself. What do I love to do?
Well, I mean, I don't have an answer for that. You have to explore everything that you do, and then do it with the best ability that you can, and see if you are improving, and you have your own measure. Like for me, for my painting, if since that was the topic that I talked about, when I started painting in 1998, I used to be very frustrated. I could never finish a painting. I had no patience, and I still, there are certain days I don't have patience now, even now. And but the realization that comes to you is that when especially for the painting, it is not about the painting, it's actually about you. It is your mind that is painting. It's not, the painting is not appearing out of nowhere. You have chosen the topic of a particular painting, so there's a reason why you've chosen that topic. If I painted that particular topic, if I paint a tree today, right, and it'll be the tree that is in front of my, that I can see in front of me. 20 years from now, if I look at that tree, I will remember that I was sitting in this room talking to Atul and that tree was in front of me, right? So if you use art for that, then you'll start loving art. If you start using art to say my art is worse than somebody else's art, then you will start hating art. So I think it's a process. You have to figure out ways to sort of love what you do.
So there's a question from Priyanka over here. Narendra is asking that these are tough times right now. We're all at home, at least in India, I think, less in the US. So how do we enhance the self-awareness skills in students in today's situation?
Yeah, I think dealing with children in this pandemic has been a very, I think, different experience for most people. Everyone, all the children are home. Kya karna hai unke sath din bhar? That becomes very difficult for the parents. Parenting is being challenged. How you parent your child becomes, you're in front of your child the whole day. The child is always observing you, and learning from what you're doing and not doing. So if you are irritated and if you're getting restless, the child is learning that right in front of your eyes. So being aware of what you're doing, and that is impacting the child, is your own awareness. So you don't have to do anything. The child has eyes and ears and noses, and that child is absorbing like there's no tomorrow. Because the child is in the informative years. So you might not be teaching mathematics or physics or biology to the child, but the child is constantly learning, right? As are you. So being aware of what you're doing is very, very important. And I'm not saying you should be overtly aware that, I'll do only those things which my child will be influenced by, or nothing like that. Just be yourself. I guess to answer the question specifically, what can we do to enhance children? One is be yourself. Acknowledge the limitations that you have right now, whatever they may be. Acknowledge the students have a lot of things to say. Listen to them. I'm sure if you ask the students, tell me 10 things that are going wrong right now, I'm sure you'll get 100. So to have conversations like that, let the students express themselves. Once you know what they're worried about, then you can start addressing each one. So anyway, we can continue. I'll move to the next question, Atul, if you want.
Yeah, I'll just add to that, Naren, that this is also time that students can, try to go beyond studies. They can explore hobbies that interest them, because we all need to understand what excites us. I think that's probably also the question Priyanka is asking. Priyanka, I'll give you a small example. When I went to IIT, I was a disaster. I just couldn't do mathematics. I just couldn't do physics. It was the wrong choice. I did. But I figured out that I'm very, very strong in my visual skills. So I got an A in engineering drawing, for example, Naren, and I just struggled in my mathematics side till I started thinking about mathematics visually. So I think it'll come and we can push our students to explore different things, whether they love to hear, whether they love to sing, whether they love to visualize things, to dream. And I think once they do that, you can make the connections, you can connect the dots, and they can also become better students. There's one question from Ayush Grover, uh, and Ayush is saying, what is the way of bringing the arg inside us? How do we bring in the fire inside us? How do you do that, Naren?
Yeah. So I think inspiration is something that Atul talked about earlier. The environment has to be inspire you. I think you be in environments where things can be inspirational for you, but you can be inspired about anything. I love one statement that Picasso made, where he says something like, inspiration is there always around you. It's always around you, right? It is for you to see it and act on it. So even if you're sitting in a garbage dump, right, there is something inspirational there, but we focus on the negative. We go, oh हाँ smell आ रहा है, ये garbage ऐसा, लोग ऐसा फेंकते क्यों हैं? You know, you don't take positive inspirations for obvious things that are in front of you. वो आग, you know, it is something that you have to be passionate about and interested about, and that won't happen overnight. Like my interest in art, for example, and since we're talking about art today, didn't come overnight. First few days were very frustrating, but I kept at it, persistent. And I said, okay, whatever it is, I'm going to learn more, and learn more diverse things about art. And the more time I spend, the more interested I get, and the more interested I get, the more time I spend. So it's a vicious cycle.
Wow. So, you know, few tips. Clearly, you've got a very strong left brain, Naren. You've got a very strong right brain. We can't chew on that.
Kamal and I think we've lost Atul, or
I think we lost him. I believe he'll be just joining us soon. So,
yeah. So are there any other questions? I had a question for the principal or any of the students over there. I think can someone talk about the art programs in the school?
Actually, that would be very difficult because there was some problem with Philip's connection also. So we lost him also. So he's not there right now. But yes, I think we've Atul sir has just come.
Okay. Yeah, Atul, I think you're on mute now. Yeah.
Atul sir, you're mute. You're mute.
Okay. Yeah. So my question over here, sorry guys, I'm apologetic. My network dropped off. So my question to you is, you know, you've used your left brain, you use your right brain. You've been so successful. When did you discover the different aspects of your life? How did you get self-aware? Are there tips you can give to teachers and students over here?
Yeah, I think very good question. I would say approximately 10 years ago, I'm now close to 60, I'll be 60 next year. And about 10 years ago, sort of, I would say, I would draw a line in the sand and say that's when I really started this exploration of self-awareness. And I try to understand why that is the case. Why was I not aware before that? And I think one of the reasons maybe I was, zindagi ke rat mein lage the. पैसा कमाना है, बच्चों को स्कूल भेजना है, बच्चे को स्कूल भेजना है. You know, all the things that you have to do in everyday life don't allow you to reflect upon yourself. And I was living in a society in the US, which is, at least in the environment that I was living in, it is always a situation where it's a very individualistic society, at least the way I was living. We were living in a huge house, you know, 10 minutes from the Pacific Ocean. Everything was utopic, everything was beautiful, and everyone, so we had a big house, you know, neighbors had a bigger house. We had a big car, the neighbor had a bigger car. So your inspirations are always, you know, I want bigger and better and bigger and better of everything. So that's what your brain constantly thinks about, you know, that if you're around people and you're around things that are magnificent, you want some of that. It's egotistic. You got to remove yourself from that. Once you remove yourself from that situation and come to a more realistic life and look at the diversity of life, which actually India offers every day. Every day, your brain, unbeknownst to you, always goes through this mind. you don't say it always to yourself. I'm grateful for who I am and where I am, because you see all the people that are around you. They're all from different economic strata, and if you are in a privileged situation, that sense of privilege constantly is some part of your brain is constantly telling you, you are privileged, you are privileged, you are privileged. And that person that you go on the street and you see that person, you're not saying it to yourself, but your brain is constantly telling you that you're privileged. When you're in a developed country where there are Teslas driving and BMWs driving and the fantastic houses, that validation is not constantly coming. The opposite validation is coming. Oh, uska ghar mere ghar se bada hai. So the environment plays a very, very big role in the inspirational process.
Fantastic. I think we're coming to an end. What a wonderful discussion, Naren. I'm extremely impressed. I am going to go and experiment art. As you were telling us about, your painting, I'm going to try to copy it. I'm going to buy a canvas, pour some pink paint, black paint, and I'm going to put a newspaper on top of it, and then let me see what comes out of that.
There is a question in the chat, sir. Can you just read that? There are two questions, one in the Q&A and one in the chat.
A proper art idiot class.
I see.
So
good.
We know it's cool because we all lips up and he's so I asked Sir to give his last thoughts and
Naren, sir, there's a question which one student is asking. I want to ask that, how did you find your way like art?
Good question. How did I find my way to art, right?
Yes.
Accidentally, because what happened was, growing up, I went to college, I went to school, I went to medical school. I was in medical colleges, and then so like Atul was saying, everything was sort of the traditional. You study, and you don't think about the artistic things. You don't do any of the music and art or anything in these schools. Not much. You do a little bit. You almost check the box and say, yes, that we have an art class. But art class is not what learning art is. What changed was, when my daughter was 5 years old, we decided that in the basement of our house, we would just put various kinds of art material on the floor. So we put canvases, we put paint, bought a lot of paints, colored pencils, chalk crayons, alag type ke, we put a lot of paper, and was there all the time, right? So what I'm speaking about, the physical inspiration. So whenever after dinner we went back down to the basement when it was very cold to go outside, it was all there in front of us. So you just have to pick up your hand and start painting. So when the physical is there in front of you and you try it, that's when I got interested in art. And then later on, obviously I took some lessons, and then the other part of the story. But I really do think that the physical space and the surroundings that you are in are one of the major things that should inspire you.
So I think before we end, I'm so sorry, my network has been unstable. I've been dropping in and out. Ashu ma'am would like to speak. So Ashu ma'am, over to you. Please, if you could switch your camera on. Would love to.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I, on behalf of Holy Angels family, would like to thank Dr. Naren for giving us beautiful insight into self-awareness and how we get to know ourselves more. And your positive tips were overwhelming, sir. And I really appreciate and again thank Dr. Naren for apprising us how beautiful is the connection between science and art. And your marvelous paintings, sir, conveyed beautiful messages and are a source of inspiration for all of us. And your colorful paintings enraptured our hearts. Thank you so much again, sir, for connecting with us. And I would also like to extend special thanks to Mr. Atul Khosla for enlightening us with his thought-provoking words. I really appreciate the way he said, that inspiration creates excitement and which indeed fulfills the purpose of life. Thank you, sir, for enlightening us. And I would also like to thank our school's director, Mr. Sebi Thomas, and our honorable principal, Mr. Philip, for giving us an opportunity to connect with both of you. Thank you again, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashu ma'am. Thank you, Philip sir. Thank you, everyone on this discussion today. It's a true honor to be here. And I think before we close, as I always do, Naren, one last 1 minute or one sentence that you want to leave with the teachers.
I think very difficult to say one sentence. Based on this topic, I would say use art to explore yourself.
Absolutely. So there's a movie called The Lion King. There's a song which said, Hakuna Matata, don't worry, be happy. So teachers, students, don't worry, be happy. Corona will go. We know that. Scientists like Naren are working day and night to make sure that there's a vaccine. So we'll have it very soon. So thank you very, very much. I am so excited today listening to you, Naren, and I'm sure I could feel that energy coming out of the screen. So once again, teachers, thank you very much. Have a lovely day. And from Shoolini, we are very, very thankful to the Holy Angel School for giving us the opportunity. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.